Hi, I'm Stella Porta. It translates to Stargate. And basically, my whole world, my waking and my nighttime life, is centers around dreams. And I work with dreams differently than most people. I see them as your oracles, your personal oracles, your map, your compass. I call my nighttime dreams my oracles of the night, and my signs, synchronicities, omens, my oracles of the day. And basically, my life has just been an interweaving of them all. And everyone I work with, they start to find the common threads among that as well. So I always get this question where people ask me, well, how did you get into dream weaving? That's such a very niche area. Like you don't wake up one day and say, I'm gonna teach dream work. I want to be a dreamer because right? I feel most of us have been dreaming our whole lives. It's kind of right. Yeah, at night and during the day. I mean,
Right.
I'm pretty sure science is catching up and it has been quantified that we all dream, even animals dream. Everything. I believe in animistic dreaming, which means that everything is alive and imbued with spirit. So everything has the possibility to be dreaming because the dream time is just another realm. And that's what I love about the Aboriginal culture of Australia. I lived there for 2 years with my husband, and that was one of the things that just really drew me there because of their cosmological beliefs around the dream time. I mean, the cosmic womb is where it all begins. It's where it all began. And I
Ugh,
love this sort of as above, so below, that we're such mirrors for this process of creation that, especially when you're born a woman in this world, we have that ability as well to be that as above, so below and birthing new things. And it doesn't just mean birthing children. That's one thing I really want to point to about dreams because I don't have any children. I've chosen not to in this lifetime.
mhm.
And for me, it's just being a portal to birth so many things, projects, ideas, art, this is relationships, they can be, they birth themselves as well. Everything.
Exactly. Yes. And you
So,
can mother things too, like without
yes.
being an actual mother. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my whole life, actually.
To
And I
mother
know
and
some
nurture.
people
Yeah.
don't understand that because it's a very, I don't want to say traditional, but there is a traditional way of, finding a partner, having a
Right.
child. And I am one to not do things very traditionally, clearly. I mean, I'm also an Aquarius moon, so I have to be living my life outside the box. Otherwise, it just does not work. I've always been like that. I've never been a trendy person. I never really followed trends, fashion or otherwise. There's also a story behind that because of the way I grew up. I was raised by a single mother. So we had to be very conscious and conscientious of what we were
Yeah.
spending, what we were buying. So I came from very humble beginnings, I guess you could
And it
say.
sounds, yeah, like that translates into intention a lot of the time, I think. Yeah. Like if that shifts later in life. Yeah. You sound
Yes,
intentional. At least that seems that way. Yeah.
thank you. And that's why I
Yeah.
really believe in being able to weave your reality through your dream time because everything starts in the non manifest before it becomes manifest. Everything in this world, I'm getting chills as I say this. I say this so often. Everything in this world began with a dream, a thought, a belief, and then it was put into action. Then it was manifested. Everything you see, the computer that we're on filming this, the desk that the computer is on, the clothes that I wear, the cars we drive, everything first started in the realm of thought. And it's very
Yeah.
powerful, right? Even scientific advances, so many of them started with thought first. It started in the dream time, in the ethereal realms before it became physical. So for myself, weaving that back in, mentioning my humble beginnings, I really believed in being able to create the life that I want. And I do that a lot through dreams. That's how I've done it. I'm one of those people that have learned to use my dreams to manifest the life I want. And I'm not just talking about writing goals down in a book, I'm talking about my nighttime dreams. I will intentionally go into dreaming with the idea, I was going to say intention again. I didn't want to be redundant, but with the intention. It's like I've already said that, but with the intention of creating something in my waking life. And dreaming is nonlinear. So many people give up. They think, oh, it doesn't work because it didn't happen tomorrow or the week after. But dreaming is so nonlinear. I visualize it as this sort of cosmic pool where you can dip in and out between past, present, and future instead of it being a flowing river where you can't step in it twice in the same space. So that is how I use dreams. And I have a whole story on how that that kind of unfolded into Honeywomb and how that
Oh
happened.
my gosh. Okay, well, we're definitely gonna cover that because that happens to me too, and I would really love your insight. And I'm honestly a little bit blown away because the first thing I wrote down out of like this short list that I wanted to be sure we covered was the fact that I learned a long time ago that there are some cultures in the world that don't have a word for imagination. That word doesn't exist in their language, and it's because it's real to them. Like when they daydream and things like, they're like, that's just normal, real. And when I learned that, it actually validated my whole life because I had been having metaphysical experiences and all sorts of really I really struggled with it for a long time because my body, my dreams would totally contradict what I was being programmed with, that this physical material paradigm is all that there is. But I knew so deeply, even as a little one, that there's so much more. I would go out and I'd talk to the trees and there would be things in the garden. And that was a very different experience than, what I was getting from my caregivers and stuff. So everything that you're saying here is like resonating so hard. And I just am blown away that you're like talking about dreams and, I think the Aboriginal culture, I'm not sure. Again, speaking of the etymology of it, I think that's probably, um, do they have a word for dream? Like how do they talk about dreams and imagination? Is there anything coming to mind related to that for you?
I never like to speak on things I'm not 100% sure of, but they did they called it the dream time. That's what they
Okay.
called it.
Yeah.
And I
I gotta
believe it
figure
was
out.
the song lines as well, or the dream lines, and that's how the world was created,
Yes,
basically.
like
How it
brought
came
into
into being.
physical. Yeah. Okay. So getting back to this thought universe sort of notion and how this
Mhm.
story bringing it into the physical. Do you want to tell us the story of?
So, like I said, I've been a prolific dreamer my whole life. I've dreamt of things that before they've happened. I've dreamt of women being pregnant before they've announced it to
Right.
the world. And so I've always been one to trust my dreams. Ever since I was younger, just like you, just having these experiences and getting access, I guess, to this other world and understanding that it was just as real as my waking reality. I
Why do
think
you
that is
think
the
that is
most
though? Like, is there a differentiation? Do you know what I mean? Like, why do some of us trust it so much more and others?
is is programming though. It is conditioning and programming. Even today, the science that we have still can't 100% explain why we dream. And I've
Right.
noticed, I've read quite a few studies, and there are scientists who are still trying to disprove that they don't mean anything. But my take on it is that if they truly didn't mean anything, why is there all this new AI technology trying to get into our dreams, right? And I
How
wonder.
interesting. Oh, and all of it, a lot of it is like an inversion in a lot of ways too, right? Like that's the whole
Yes.
thing with using AI. What a powerful tool, but where is it coming from? Again, this thought universe, everything is energy before it's physical matter. And I guess that's kind of a dream question too. Like, where do our dreams come from? Yeah. Where's Okay, get back to your story. Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay. This usually
Yeah.
happens when I'm on podcasts because there's just so much we can talk about in an hour and a half is never enough. Even in my courses, it's never enough. It's just never enough
Oh, I
because
know.
dreaming is infinite, right? So
Yes.
in our finite world, there's
The
really
linear
we
thinking mind. Yeah, it's
right?
very
We
slippery.
put a
Yeah.
boundary on something that's boundless. So, okay.
What I'm really driving at is like, I read on your website, dreaming isn't something you decode, it's something you live. And
Mhm.
one of my sort of like, I guess something that I say a lot is like everything is patterns, like we're decoding the patterns, but there's not actual effort in the way that we decode. Like it reveals itself to you the more that you sit back, surrender, trust, and sort of allow, which is a very feminine way, I think, of approaching life and living. And that's what I'm hearing. Like when I see your videos, when I hear the undercurrent, what I'm really hearing is like this very feminine sort of approach. And I don't mean necessarily gender, just to be specific, but it's like this allowing and like not forcing. So I guess my main question was pulling things from the ether into physical reality. How much of that is force or like the pulling, like creating of it? What is that process? And I guess, yeah, if there's a story that makes sense there, that's great. Yeah.
Well, for myself, because I'm the type of person that only speaks and teaches what I've personally embodied, I think there's a lot of what's the word I use? Like smoke and mirrors, especially on the internet. And I've experienced that personally myself working with certain people where there's a online persona and it's not the same when they're offline. So for
No.
me, I've made it my goal, my mission to always be in integrity. So I'm only going to speak to what I've experienced and embodied myself. So for me, when I talk about weaving realities and how you do that through the dream time, there's one state that I love to work in, and it's the hypnagogic state. It's that space between sleep and wake. I believe it was Edison as well who used to hold something in his hand, and as he was falling asleep, it would drop. That's one thing that I do teach in my courses is if you want to play around with that hypnagogic state and receiving certain messages through that time, would be to get something heavy in your hand as you take a
Right.
nap so that once it falls out, it'll wake you up, especially if it hits the ground. And
Right.
that's what it's meant to do. It's just playing around with that state because a lot of our world is birthed through that state. So, right as I'm falling asleep, the way that I like to do this is to, if I'm going into dream time for a specific prescription, I guess, a life prescription, it's like a healing or direction or guidance, I'll intend to get that answer. I will say it to myself over and over as I'm falling asleep. I don't stop. And of course, at some point, it starts to become jumbled. So it's like
Right.
if I am dreaming for healing on this, eventually it'll be like I am da da da, and I eventually just like I can't put the words together, and that's when I know that I'm falling asleep and I can't focus anymore. And that's a good sign because that means I am going into the dream time with that specific intention. But what
Right.
I've done as well, and I played with this over the last few months, whenever I was selling my courses and I was trying to fill my courses, I would actually envision someone buying it and I would wake up and there'd be a sale or two. And that's how I would do it. I would literally picture it over and over again. Someone like seeing it pop up, and I would wake up and I'd have a dream, actually, a very lucid dream where I'd see the scroll. I'd actually be dreaming and then I'd wake up and think, okay, maybe this happened. And I'd go and a couple hours later, I would find that there was sales. And so this was my way of calling in the people that were meant to be in this container. Like,
Right.
for example, my dreaming women who dream with the wolves course just filled up, and it filled up 2 days before the early pricing even ended.
I saw that.
I didn't even get to promote it very much. To be honest, I probably sent 4 emails and maybe did 6 posts and it was already filled up.
Oh, that's
And
amazing. Yes.
thank you. And that's what it
Uh-huh.
is. It's like when you start living in such an aligned way and you listen to your dreams as maps, it starts to work out. Like I would ask for direction. Okay, how do I share this offering with the world? And I'd get it. And then I'd go the next day. And this is the most important part, is to take action on your dream. And I think that's the one thing that people, miss out on because there's this really big trend of just visualize it and it'll happen. And I'm like, that's only
Right.
half of the path.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
especially me being an artist, if I don't pick up a paintbrush and I have a painting in my head, that will never get painted. The canvas will just sit there. I have to actually put the dream into action. I have to
Yeah.
actually physically do it. So for me,
Right.
I think it's a bit of both. And that's when
Yeah.
you become a co-creator, where you're not just expected to dream it, you're also expected to manifest it like the creator, the co-creator that you are. So that
Yes.
is the most important state I would say to play with, the hypnagogic state. And you'll know because it's
Yeah.
that state where you're asleep, but you could still feel your body. That's how I would describe it. It's like
Yeah.
you're falling asleep. You're seeing it as if you're dreaming something, but you can still feel your body in the physical realm. That's how I would
Right.
describe it. And so that is also when I started saying affirmations. I'll be honest with you, I was never an affirmation person before. I would kind of scoff at it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was one of those people. Affirmations, I don't believe in that. And then
Well,
earlier this year, I just started saying when I started really, there's a whole story behind this, but I'll try to simplify this. When I went into business completely for myself and I completely started betting on myself and believing in myself, and I thought I'm going to take a chance on me because I mean, dream work. That's not something that you think is going to be an easy sell, right? An easy thing to share. I don't like using the word selling all the time because it sounds very business like, but we are living in a three-dimensional world, and that is how we're
yeah.
interacting with in order when we talk about making livelihood and income. So for myself, it was just, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all in. And I started saying this affirmation, and it was, I am noticed and appreciated in the most positive ways. I am loved. And that was from Louise Hayes. And my husband gave that to me. And he
Oh,
said, start saying this affirmation. I'm like, okay, thanks. And then I'm like, thanks, honey. And then I started adding to it. So at the end of it, I'd say, money flows to me effortlessly. And I would start to say that right in that hypnagogic state as I was falling asleep. And I kid you not, my business just took off. Within
wow.
6 months, it just took off. My Instagram went from 4,000 to over 35,000 people, like my community. I don't like using the word followers. I hate that word. I think it's
I do too. Yeah.
I don't like it. I try to avoid it all the time. I'm like
Yeah.
community, leaders, fellow leaders, because I don't want followers. I want leaders beside me. I don't want people behind me. None of my work is about me being a guru for anybody. I don't want that. I don't ever want to
Right.
be put in a spiritual influencer category.
No,
Answer.
that was beautiful. It was amazing. It's interesting because I used to feel the same way about affirmations. They were triggering a lot of the time. So that was like part of like a low self-worth move on my end. I was like, oh, that I'm going to have to look at that now. But then also, we're kind of gaslighting ourselves. If you're saying the affirmations over and over again, but you don't subconsciously believe them, it's kind of like, that's not a good idea at all. Actually, it's like harmful in a way. So I love that that's like, well, in the like, what I'm really trying to say is, you know, the problem's not the intuitive guidance. Like, I find frequently with my clients, with people I meet, it's like we all get the ideas. We all hear or see things, right? The daydreams, we know
Mm-hmm.
things, but it's that, like you're saying, the taking of the action when our nervous system responds and our nervous system's like, I can't do that. That's not possible. Or right. Like it's all that programming. I think like you're saying, is that what you mean? Like, and that's
Yes.
a part of a bridge between the two.
Yes. And that's how well, for myself personally, that's how I began to weave my nighttime with my daytime. People talk a
Okay.
lot about shadow work, but I use my dream time to do a lot of shadow work because I have to face things. That's what nightmares are, right? Like when things come up, a lot of people attribute it to being attacked psychically, and that does happen. I've had it happen. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but a lot of the times it is a manifestation of something that you are ignoring in your waking life, and your
Yeah.
subconscious, your soul is going to tell you, okay, well, you're not going to ignore it in the dream time. You think you can escape it when you're awake? Nope, I got you when your eyes closed, baby. It's coming. And that's happened to me so many times, about a situation, a person, and I've had to deal with it. And
Right.
I have to say, the most profound healings have happened in the dream time because that's where everything begins. So, when you can rewire your subconscious through your dream time intentionally, it then manifests in your waking life. I had a student who, in my last container, the Spiral of Wings and Scales, had her first dream time experience. She had a dream about an ex business partner that did not end well. And she said it was the first time she experienced healing around it because she dreamt of a different, like, not necessarily a different outcome, but she had faced this person in the dream and there was closure. And she woke up
Mm,
feeling, I'm released and I'm free. That's actually what she said to me. She said, I'm
wow.
released and I'm free. And it was beautiful because that's how powerful dreams are. And the ancients,
True.
they knew this. Indigenous cultures still know this. It is our
Yeah.
oldest form of technology. And guess what? All you need is your body. You don't need anything else.
I
Isn't
say it
that
all the
amazing?
time. It's
You take it with you
incredible.
everywhere.
Literally, our biology is the original technology. Like it, that you cannot beat
Yes.
it. Our brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. That is a superpower. That is insane.
Mm.
Yeah, because what is the mechanism interacting with that, like that veil, right? That
Yes.
hypnagogic state. It's like, what is the thing that's putting the code into the processor? If that's what you want to think about your brain as, right? Does that sound like it fits?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we use
Okay.
the term downloads, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just it's way you're just so let's think of your dreams. You're literally just rewriting the code then. Let's use that analogy. You're rewriting the code. That's what you're doing.
Yes.
And people dismiss dreams and I live by them. Like I said, they're my oracles. I've dreamt of people that were not in integrity and every dream I had came true. And I had to sever that relationship, which is why I had to go into business all for myself. I had to lose my main source of income and trust my dreams. And I'm so happy I did that because it opened up a whole new world when I started to trust. And I
Oh,
want to say too, the reason I talk about, I'm talking about selling and making money is because I healed a lot of my money wounds through the dream time. And then it manifested in my waking life, which is very powerful because I think money is one of those things where people don't want to talk about it. They would just prefer to judge other people who have it, right?
Much easier, right? Yeah,
It's a lot easier. And I have to admit, I did that. I did that a long time ago, right? Especially when you come
exactly.
from a family that, if you have family or you have generational trauma around money. So for me, a lot of my healing for my business came from healing my money wounds through my dream time, through the
Right,
hypnagogic state. And I'm telling you, in such
right.
a short time, I mean, it'll be different for everyone, but it just set me on this new path, this path that I did not expect because I trusted the dream and I faced it. That's what it was.
That's the theme I'm hearing. Maybe another way to say it, the story of your client who like had this profound healing and woke up feeling differently about a relationship. I'm sure, I mean, we can both relate to that, but it's like sometimes our dreams allow us another awareness of a situation, person, a thing that we relate to, and that then changes how we are able to relate to it in the physical. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more, I guess, about like the birthing? I wanted to, because that's how the bees, right, occurred and became a part of this journey. Do you want to maybe talk about, like, because I know it's all related, right? Like, start with the process, because I think the dots are gonna connect. And ultimately, what I really want to hear about is how we learn to trust ourselves and trust our dreams. Yeah, and pull that more in.
Yeah. I do always love telling this story because it's such a tangible one
Yeah.
where dreams are so intangible.
Intangible. Yeah, like
So,
so
and
ineffable.
this,
Yes.
yeah, and this is what I mean is I'm able to weave my nighttime with my daytime because that's exactly what ends up happening in my life. And that's how I've
Yeah.
learned that's the path that I follow. So I'm going to try not to, to make this story longer than it needs to be. But I've said that I've always been a dreamer my whole life and I've had many different experiences my whole life. So I've learned to trust it early on. But there was one specifically that set me on the path that I'm on. And I always say this to people. I did not choose this path. This path honestly chose me. This is not somewhere I thought I would be. If you had asked me even a year ago, I would have probably laughed and said, "Oh, that doesn't sound like me at all." So, to preface this, this is how different my path has changed. I actually worked for the criminal courts for a number of years. I was almost sworn in as a police officer for the province that I was living in at the time. I was a very different Stella, okay? I was a very different person. I was very much, as you were talking about in the beginning, Erin, I was actually in my masculine a lot. Very, very much so. And I thought that, well, looking back on it now, I really believe that I chose that path because I wanted to help people. And I thought that was the only way I could do it, that I could be of the most service. And I realize that now that service is such a big part of my design that even though it was probably one of the most dangerous jobs, I thought I'm going to do this because I want to be of service to the world. So my contract with the government ended for the criminal courts, and I had this opportunity to be sworn in as an officer because I passed the background check. All they needed really left was my finances. That was all. They just needed a copy of my finances because they do like to go into every single thing, which I'm very private. Didn't like that part. So
You become property of the government,
yes,
literally. Yeah, no, I
yes,
know.
and I didn't
Yeah.
like that. And so already I was feeling a little, not that I had anything to hide, but I'm a really private person. So I didn't like that aspect of it. And I thought, okay, like this is going to be my whole life. What is going to
Right.
be mine? I'll
Right.
be carrying everybody else's. And I was already, I'm a sensitive person. I should have known better. This probably wasn't the best idea for me. I'm glad it didn't work out, but it didn't work out for a reason. So my contract
Totally.
ends and I start on this whole different path. Um, I become a yoga teacher thinking, okay, maybe that's my path, right? This seems like maybe it's it. Tried that. I was selling my art for a bit. That was mildly successful, not as successful as it could have been, but I also didn't try very hard with that. I do admit that. And then so at one point, me and my husband had the Mel Robbins book, the 5 second rule.
Okay.
And we just literally in 5 4 3 2 1, we moved to Australia. We sold everything. We moved there for 2 years. Yeah. We moved there for 2 years and it was the best. I really recommend that to people as like the best experience I've ever had to go
Yeah.
see the world. And that's when I started listening in 2018 to all these podcasts. Some people were talking about, enlightenment and spirituality. And I had been heavily Christian in my younger years of my choice, not by anyone else's. And so this was like a whole new world for me. And a lot of it started resonating. So that's when I started to peel back some more layers. And then we had to do farm work. And that's when I started listening to these podcasts. Because in order to get a second year visa, you have to do 6 months? Oh, it was terrible. Tried to block that part of my life out. 6 months of farm work. I think it was 6 months.
I've
What
heard
was
of
it?
this visa in Australia. Yes.
Not 6 months. It was 180 days. It was something. It was less than that. I think if you go for your third year, it's 6 months, which didn't make sense because that's half my year. I'm working for half my year.
Yeah.
Doesn't, right? Why would I even stay for
Right.
just 6 months extra? So
Yeah.
it was grueling. And I want to say thank you to all the farmers because nobody understands until you do that
How
work,
much work it is.
how
Yeah.
much work it is.
Well, we're so
Oh, and
disconnected, yeah, from what
it's
we put in our bodies. Yeah.
so I can say that is some of the hardest work physically I've ever done in my life. And I'm so glad
Yeah.
I experienced it because I have such an appreciation now for everything I put in my mouth, for all the food I put in my mouth. So as we were
Wow.
on this doing this farm work, I don't know why I did, but there was a wildlife sanctuary that was in this little small Australian town that we lived in. And I decided to volunteer on Saturdays. Why would Stella do that? She's already really exhausted. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. and getting home at like 4 from physical
Sure.
labor. Like I'm tired.
Right.
But something drew me to there. And that's when I got to work with my first python. Now, this was before I even discovered the Pythia. So it was already coming into my life. I'm the type of person where if something scares me, I'm going to face it. That's just how
Yeah.
I am. If I'm going to get over it by facing it. That's what I do
Mhm.
in the dream time as well. So I thought, okay, I'm scared of snakes because that's what everyone tells you to be scared of. So much venomous snakes in Australia. I thought, all right, I'm going to volunteer and I'm going to get over this fear and I'm going to work with snakes. So I did. So it was an olive python too. I have a picture of it on my website. So I start working with these pythons, these snakes, all these different types of snakes, not the venomous ones. He asked me if I wanted to. I said no, I wasn't ready for that.
We're not going there yet.
I
Yeah.
was like, not yet.
Okay.
Like, I'm not even a native of this country. Like, I'm not even a citizen. There's no way I'm getting hurt in this country. So, and almost dying.
Right.
So that's when the Pythia started coming into my life, was through working with snakes. This is why I say I only teach what I've embodied. I literally held snakes and bees. I'll get to the bees in a second, in my
Yeah.
hands, in
Right.
my own physical hands. So I did that. And then I'm still listening to these podcasts and my life just starts to unfold. I start getting like oracle decks. I don't think I'd ever really had an oracle deck before then. So I buy my first oracle deck, an animal spirit deck. I still have it. And
Oh.
I find this, I hear this Joe Dispenza book. So I get that, but I never read it. And I realize later, this is a little off topic. It's for my husband. My husband was born with type 1. Well, wasn't born, sorry. He always corrects me when I say this because we're trying to speak about it in a way that doesn't limit and doesn't, we're
Right.
trying to heal it. We believe that we can
Yeah.
heal this, even though the world
Right.
says, no, you
And
can't.
not right. It's not part of your identity. It's just like, yeah, I get it.
Yes. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I always have to
Yeah.
I want to say it in a way that it's like, this is not who he is. You know what I mean?
Right. He's having
But
symptoms or he had symptoms. Yeah, I get you.
yes.
Yeah.
So he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 15 after a really bad
Okay.
cold. So he starts reading this book and his whole world starts changing.
Right.
It's actually really incredible to see how far he's come.
Wow.
And so this is like the start of our like really spiritual awakening. And we get home. So I can tell you, there's so many things. Like I dreamt about, like there was a fire. We lost our last home in Australia on an island to fire. Our last working home burned down completely. We were part of the wildfires. We lived through that too. That was a traumatic experience.
No
Uh,
way. Oh
yeah.
no.
So I was initiated very heavily by fire and by
That's
snakes and
fascinating. Yeah, I'd
uh,
say.
my
Yeah.
Saturn return too. That's when all that happened. So
Oh my God.
yeah, I didn't even realize that at the time. I had just started paying attention to astrology
I
at
was
the
gonna
time
say there's a
during,
lot to keep track of with the astrology stuff. I
right?
know. Yeah.
But that was through the podcast. It was just because I started listening to, what was it? Your Own Magic, To Be Magnetic, Lacey's podcast. I started listening to
Yeah.
Jordan Younger's podcast. I don't know what it's called now, but
Nice.
was it The Balance Blonde? I think that's what it was in
Yeah. Yeah.
2018. So this, and I was never a podcast person. Never listened to podcasts in my life. And then this farm work, I'm also grateful for that because it gave me
Yeah.
all the time to listen to all of this, and it opened up
Yeah.
my world. So we lost our home, our work, and we actually saved stuff though. I had a dream about, the fire getting worse because we had all seen it. We were all looking at it from the window thinking, okay, is it going to come our way? Like, do we need to evacuate?
Right.
And of course,
Mhm.
the resort managers waited till the last second, I think, unfortunately, to to send everybody away. But it was scary. And we had the day off synchronistically. Me and my husband had the day off, and we were just going into town. And I was standing outside and I'm looking at this really, really colorful sky, a color that is not okay. It's not a
Right.
good sign.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I get this voice like in my head, pack up everything you want with you, what you want to need,
Yeah.
like what you'll need. And so I look at my husband, I go, grab our suitcases. And another synchronicity is that we had just moved rooms, so most of our stuff was still in the suitcases. So I said, put them in the car. And we put them in the car, and we told our managers we're going off. They tried to stop us from leaving the resort because of the fire. And I said, no, like I'm listening to my dreams. I'm listening to my intuition. We're going. I'm like, we're going. We didn't care. And I'm very proud and happy that we did that. We stood our ground. I'm like, no, we're leaving. Like, so
Yeah.
one of my managers was amazing. And she said, just like, let me know, keep in touch with me through text. 30 minutes later, I get a text message and it says, we've evacuated. And I thought, yeah, I knew it was coming. The voice told me something was going to happen. So we were driving, and it's scary. Like, we can see fire on each side. We're like, okay, are we going to be okay? Like, are we going to make it into town? The town's like I think it was an hour away maybe. So I'm like, okay, we just got to keep going. And we had most of our stuff, and it was so sad because we get into town, everybody's there, and the whole resort burns down. All the animals. It was the most traumatizing, one of the most traumatizing things I think I've ever been through. And it was scary, and it was sad, and it was heartbreaking. I don't think I've ever felt so much heartbreak for the world at that moment, for the first time in my life. And we were very, very fortunate that I've listened to my dreams and my oracles of the day and my oracles of the night, because we were one of the few that actually had all of our belongings. All our friends' cars burnt down. They were incinerated, their clothes, everything they had. And some of them were travelers too. So it's all they
Right.
had. And I
Literally
was
their
just
life.
so
Yeah.
grateful. The doors close on the world. Everything shuts down by like 2020. We come back. I tell my husband too, I don't know, I feel like we need to get home. Like something's going to happen. The doors are going to shut. We do. As soon as we get home, February 2020, the world shuts down. And so during this time, I'm kind of lost, right? I think most of us were. We finally settle a year later in BC on the Sunshine Coast. The ravens led me here. I started dreaming about ravens. And it was wild. The day before we were leaving to literally drive for the first time across Canada from Ontario to BC, I started dreaming of ravens, and I dreamt of these like runic Viking symbols. And I saw that it was it was the symbol for like travelers. And I never seen this before in my life. I had to Google it. I don't like Googling things, but I did Google it. And as we're driving, I wish I'd taken a picture of this just for tangible evidence, but there's a truck that stops in front of us. And you know how on cars there's dust and people write things? Like
Totally.
people,
Yeah.
like if there's dusty, they'll say clean me
Like
or
clean
wash
me.
me.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
this truck, I'm not kidding, Aaron, had runes on it. Okay. So I'm sitting there thinking, this is insane. I go to my husband because I tell my husband about my dreams. I'm like, Justin, look, you're freaking out. I'm getting goosebumps right now, truth bumps. I'm like, how is this possible? Follow that truck. Like, we're going the right way. Follow the raven. So we're going, and we get to this town on the coast that has ravens everywhere because it's part of the She Shelf Nation, and a lot of them, and there's ravens is the animal that's pretty much on most businesses and signs. So we settled here, and my life just completely shifted. So I like sharing this story because it's like, with all the chaos that happened in the world, beauty was still there. I found direction. I found guidance. I stuck to my dreams. I listened to my dreams. And even though it felt like the world was spinning out and there was no certainty, all I had to do was trust my own inner knowing and guidance. And it led me here. And then so we're living here. And one day there's this ad pop up about a course with intentional dreaming with European bee shamanism with Ariella Daly. And I'm sitting there, and I watched the free hour video, which is a surprise for me. I don't normally make time to do those things. I watch the whole thing, and I sit there and I go, okay, I'm gonna buy this course. And I did within 5 minutes. Very uncharacteristic of me. My husband would tell you, very, very uncharacteristic. It takes me days, Aaron, weeks
It
to
takes
decide
everybody, I think that exactly.
for
Yeah.
5 minutes. Because I had
That's
been dreaming
amazing.
of bees
Yes.
like a lot. lately, like before that.
Okay, time out. Can you tell me what, like, when you say I've been dreaming about bees, what type of dreams? Like,
Oh,
was a bee chasing you? Was it, tell me more about that.
oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
if
I
you
was
don't
gonna
mind.
get into
Yeah.
that. No, don't
Oh,
worry.
okay, go for it. Keep going. So
That's okay.
sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay. It's good. You need to stop me because I can go on with my
Well, I'm just
story.
thinking of someone listening to this because I know what you mean because this happens to me too, but I want others to tune in and be like, okay, I want to dream about a bee, but like I feel like a lot of the time it's like ego jumps in and it's like the bear is chasing me. Oh my God, there's going to
Oh,
be a bear,
yeah.
something bad's going to happen, but it's like, okay, maybe this bear archetype is actually trying to integrate with you. And if you face it, which is everything I'm hearing you say right now, literally, like we face it, we face the sanctuary burning down, we face
Mhm.
what that's bringing up in us, the truth, right? So what does it mean? Like if a bee is in your dreams, like what kind of dreams were you having? Can you tell?
Oh, they weren't fun dreams. They weren't they weren't dreams that
Okay.
I'd ask for. It would be dreams where bees were all over the ground and I was stepping on them and I was trying not to
Okay.
step on them. Sometimes
Yeah.
I would be getting stung.
Right.
Other times I would be it would be fear. Fear would
Right.
come up. Confession,
Yeah.
I have been afraid of bees. I was deeply terrified. I've actually still never been stung. And I'll get to that. I've never been stung before in my life. So I had this fear and it kept coming up. So I'd wake up thinking, why am I dreaming of this? Like, it's not like I see bees outside at the time, right?
And
Especially because
that's
it
what I
was,
want
I
to
think,
connect. Yeah. Like it's not
yeah.
like a bee's coming up and you're like besties with a bee. And so then that is why in waking life you can be like, oh, the bees, right? Like I want to make that clear because that's the way it is for me too. It's like, yeah, it's not always clear and direct. Like there's a lot of
No.
symbolism involved, right? Yeah. That's
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going.
Sometimes
So
they can be
sorry.
direct, and I'll share that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they can be very in your face, and that's how they claimed me. And I'll, I'll explain that. I'll explain what that
Oh,
means.
okay. Keep going. Keep going. Oh my goodness.
So to be honest, I dismissed these dreams. Okay. Like I was just like, oh, they're normal, whatever. I'm just dreaming about bees. But then this course comes up. So I take this course. And I'm thinking, okay, so like bees are psychopomps, which means they travel between realms. They are one of the oldest symbols of antiquity, including the serpent. Okay, these are to me, I see the bee and the serpent as very feminine solar beings. Okay, and I can get into that more later. But so I'm dreaming of these bees. This course comes up, and literally within the week that I signed up, all of a sudden there are two hives on our property that we park our tiny home on. Okay, so we rent on this property. The
So you
landowners
did
also
not
live
put
on
them
the top.
there. Yeah.
No, no, this is a 10-acre property. So the landowners live here too. And all of a sudden these hives show up. And normally they tell us what, like when they're
What
gonna
they're
do
up
something
to.
like that.
Yeah.
No one said anything. I even double checked with my husband. I'm like, I actually checked with him the other day. I said, do you ever remember them telling us they were getting bees? And he said, no. And he has a great memory. His memory's better than mine most of the time because I have too much going
I was
on up
gonna
here.
say you're in the dreams. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
it. I totally get it.
I'm in
Yeah.
between
Men are
worlds.
handy for that. Yeah.
I'm so grateful.
Right.
So they come on the property, and then I started dreaming about bees more. All of a sudden, after, I don't know, I'd say probably 6 months they were on the property, I started dreaming of bees with deformed bodies. In one dream specifically, I have a bee on my finger and I can see the body deformed. And in these dreams with them now, since they arrived on the property, I'm always in a house, which to me, I realized later represented the hive because the hive is a womb. Okay,
Right.
scientists have actually likened the hive to a mammalian womb because it needs to be regulated at a certain temperature, like humans, like mammals. So their temperature needs to be about 95 to 97 degrees Fahrenheit. I believe that's what it is. And so all my dreams were in a house to represent, the wooden boxes of the hive. And I'm thinking, okay, like what is going on? And remember, I'm terrified of bees. Okay. I've
Right.
never been stung before in my life. This is not something that I would have chose for myself. So they keep showing up, keep showing me they're deformed, and I realize they're calling for help. So one day I think, okay, you know what? I'm just going to face it. I'm going to go to the hives. I'm going to see what is going on. I get there, and lo and behold, on the entrance of the hive, on all over the grass in front of the hive, there are bees with deformed bodies. So that's when I realized these hives have been neglected by the property owners, and they were coming to me in my dreams for help. So what did I do? Stella answered the call. She threw herself into beekeeping, and I learned everything I could basically overnight. And so I asked the property owners if I could step in. And of course, I mean, it was free labor too, right? Who would say no to that? And I was like, I'm doing this for the bees. I made sure to
Right.
say, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for the bees. Like they need my help. So I did. I bought myself a suit. I started learning everything I
All
could about
in.
books. I went all in. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, you came to me, I'm going to answer. And
Oh, I love
that's
it.
when the Melissa wove their way. So I had the Pythia and the Melissa, which
Okay.
to be honest are one and the same. I believe it was Pindar who called the Pythia the Delphic bee. So they actually are one and the same. The Pythia were also called the Melissa. So that's what I'm saying. The bee, I'm getting chills again. The bee and the serpent, very, very interconnected, which is why I work with them so closely. And I'd been dreaming of snakes too. I think everyone's dreamt of a snake at least once. So often in
Yeah.
my life too. So all these symbols showing up in my dreams, the bees,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
serpents, the wolves, the ravens. So all of these psychopomps, okay, these animals that weave between realms. So I jump in, I take over, and then I dream of the word for my business, Honeywomb. It started in the dream time, and when I wasn't paying attention to them, they manifested in my waking life. They just showed up very coincidentally. I've studied with Robert Moss as well, and he calls it chiromancy, which is divination by special moments of Kairos time. So it's
Oh,
synchronicity, another word for synchronicity. So that's what it was in my life. And I had actually just finished studying that like a year or two before that. So it's just all like my path just started weaving together. So I have the Pythia, the Melissa, and then wolves, which are totally another story. So, and they're actually all connected. They're all connected with certain
well,
goddesses, certain archetypes. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And so that's how the bees tangibly came into my life. And they show, oh, and then during that whole time while I'm taking care of the hives, unfortunately, they didn't make it. They both, one of them passed a few months after. And then I don't want to attribute it all to me, but with my devotion, they stayed alive for another year. So they're both gone now, and I'm very sad about that. But while they were like the last one was alive, I started getting dreams about wasps. And sure, lo and behold, the next day I would go, and all of a sudden wasps were invading the hive. And it was really late into the season too when they started doing that. So I didn't expect that. So they showed me, oh, wasps are like in once again, the dream took place in a house and wasps were with the bees and they were in there. And I thought, okay, this is really strange. And so I went to the hive and yeah, I saw a bunch of them trying to get in and try to steal the honey. So I
yeah.
had to take care of that issue. And then during the winter, which to me is the best time to dream with the bees because that's when they're dreaming as well, especially in the northern hemisphere.
Oh,
I like
'cause
running
they're
my
hybrid.
yeah, I like my dreaming with the hive course took place during the winter and it was just so powerful and so potent because that's also they're in the sacred womb, the darkness of the womb, right? They're
They're
dreaming, they're
busy in the
making
summer.
medicine. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they make medicines and potions during the winter, right? Like their alchemy is happening during the dream time or during the winter when they don't go out. So during that time, I wasn't sure if the hive was going to make it. I didn't know because I can't check. During the winter, I can't check, especially if there's snow. Even then, you don't want to open the hive during the winter because the
Right.
minute they lose heat, to me, they're mammals, okay? Like that's how I view them. I respect them as mammals. I mean, I respect every living creature, but
Yeah.
my relationship with them is just on a different level. So for them, like you can't go in and check. You can't risk ruining the heat and the temperature and having it throw off because it will throw everything off. Mold gets in.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of things that happen. So I had no way of connecting to them except through the dream time. And that was how they found me first was through the dreams. So I had one dream where same thing. There was an empty house. It was completely in the dark, no furniture, which was interesting. And I thought in the dream I became lucid. I thought this is very weird. And all of a sudden there was first time I've ever dreamt this. There was a grim reaper, and it was a woman with blonde hair. I didn't see her face, but she was wearing the cloak. She had the skiff, and right following that was a dream about bees. And so I wrote it down and I thought, okay, maybe this will mean something, in the future. And yeah, a month later when I went to check the hives, they were gone. It was empty. They were all dead. And so on the bottom. So it was just really like they've been keeping tabs with me, you know, during that whole
Wow.
time. Yeah. So needless to say, there's a reason why I trust my dreams because whenever I take action on them, they always come true, whether it's about an animal ally, something I need to do, a direction, a person. That's always a big one for
Totally.
me. I always
Yes.
listen.
Yeah. Which direction do I go? I have so many questions for you. First, what's popping in is how brave. I'm so blown away. I had no idea that our journeys were so similar. I worked in intelligence for the government. I was an intelligence analyst for a while, and so I like completely understand like giving yourself away for something that is not in alignment. Yeah, it sounds like I did the same thing. I'm gonna go back to school, study nutrition, become a yoga teacher. Like maybe that's what will heal my body. Like the whole thing. I was just like, oh my gosh. But all of that too, like you, I guess, was probably a lot of dream stuff. I might not even consciously remember like what was causing me to make those decisions. Yeah, it's like I always knew there was something else, probably because my dream time was revealing that or healing it or however that works. But um, I think what I wanted to tug on a bit more was like this nonlinear dreaming. It gets a little slippery, but like my dreams, I think, like, because I've been recording my dreams in voice notes for over 6 years, and because I was like doing shadow work for a long time, and now I'm like, they usually are just like revealing things in the subconscious that like we're not really like you. It's like my subconscious is trying to cue me into a dynamic that maybe isn't serving us or something in me in the waking world, and some symbolism that was like cars come up a lot in my dreams. I dream of cars, and someone for a while was always driving my car that wasn't me, and I was like a passenger in the car, and it never fails. That person is always someone that I eventually have to confront, whether it's a business relationship, whether, you know what I mean? I'm always like, I'm driving the car now. Yeah. Well, I do have something to say.
No, you just hit it. You said it. You hit the nail on
Yeah.
the head. Like
It took me a while, yeah, like to figure that out and to put that together. But that's kind of what I'm hearing, like the house, the womb, the hive. I guess part of what I am trying to connect it to, and I'd love your thoughts on this because I was also like, I basically had to become a man because of my upbringing, because of the way I was being. In order to survive, I had to be in my masculine, that wounded masculine energy, right? But it was so necessary to reclaim my feminine energy in a way. At least that's the way I feel about it now, because I now understand healthy masculine and what it feels like, resourcing that in myself so I can hold that feminine Shakti, that creative life force that you just allow to flow through you, that beautiful flow, right? And it's like, we don't want to tamp that down. Is that, I guess I was going to try and pull it all back to the nonlinear dreaming thing. It's because that's really what it doesn't make sense. Like why I had a dream 2 years ago that just now suddenly clicked in my mind as like, oh, this is related. And I had no idea. Like the wolves and the snakes and the bees, they're all related. It's all the same thing being revealed to us in ways that only our subconscious could understand. Like the house is not a hive. It's like our brains, the way we pick up on it. Has that been a bit of your experience, like with relating to your own inner masculine, feminine dynamic, or how's that played out for you?
Oh, I understand you completely, Erin. We do have many things in common. I was the same. I mean, beyond even just working for the government, I was the same too, right? Really living in my masculine. I mean, that version of me was the one that thought she needed to be independent of anybody, especially a man. I was actually very bitter and cynical before I met my husband, and we were young. I met him when I was 24, and that was 12 years ago. So, for
Like,
myself,
did you know you were in your masculine? Yeah, like, did you know, or did you know what I mean? Like,
no,
how
I
were you
think I
relating it?
thought it was
Yeah.
just ambition, right? That's because
Yeah.
that's what we're taught it is. It's just this is what ambition looks like.
Right.
And so for me, I don't know about you, but I actually didn't like terms like being called a girl or pink. I didn't like any of that stuff.
I dressed like a boy. I
Yeah,
wanted to be a tomboy.
I
Yes.
was, me
I
too.
rejected it.
I rejected pink. I didn't want any of that.
Same.
And I don't know
Same.
why. It's really interesting, but I mean, I grew up with a single mother and a brother. So I think not having my dad as a stable presence in my life, it's almost like I had to step in and take on that
Yeah.
role. Now that I
Right.
really look back on it and certain dreams that I've had about my father, I think, okay, yeah, that's what it was. Little Stella needed
Right.
to just become what she was missing, right? What she was lacking in her life. So my mom was really, she worked really hard. She was a single mom. So I learned the value of hard work too. So I think I learned a little bit of that, like being in the masculine through my mom, even though my mom was also, very feminine woman as well. She worked so hard. We were in government housing, like we were in very dangerous neighborhoods we were living in. When I say humble beginnings, I did not grow up with wealth. I did not
Wow.
grow up with I was, shopping at Byway. If anyone remembers what Byway was, that was you right? Like very secondhand. I got my mom's hand-me-downs, but that was okay for me. I never wanted material things. I was never that person that thought, "Oh, I need to look like these girls at
Right.
school," I was never like that. I just accepted it. It's what it was. So when I grew up, yeah, those were my dreams, were to just, okay, like I got to work for something. I got to keep working. I got to work hard. And I will say I'm very grateful for that. I still have a great work ethic. Otherwise, being an entrepreneur, being your own business, nothing would get done because I'm the only employee. If I don't work, nothing gets done. So, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
being honest. I know there's a lot of it's very trendy, like just be in your feminine right now. You don't have to do anything for business. And I'm thinking, oh, trust me, if I don't do it, no one else is going to do it. Like I have to, I have to get stuff done.
I
Like
think
if
that's
someone,
honestly why I'm asking, because it is so distorted, I find. Yes,
it
like this
is.
conversation, it's like this again, like the affirmations can become a little bit harmful, I think. Yes,
Yeah.
because money to me is like the receiving it is
Yeah.
feminine, but there is a
Mm,
masculine element to it, right? To like create the container to hold it. And that
yes.
is lost in the conversation. I think again, we start gaslighting ourselves, right? A little bit sometimes. Like it's possible, I guess. Yeah, yeah, entrepreneurship. It's a whole spiritual boot camp. Like the whole that it's this whole experience is spiritual is basically the recap of what we've been talking about here. It's like it's all the same thing. Yeah.
I look at dreams as mirrors of your waking reality.
Yeah.
And they're also portals. That's another way that I look at dreams. Most dream work is very cerebral. They
Right.
talk about Jung and Freud. And for me,
Totally.
that is not how I work with dreams. That's not the path
Yeah.
that I'm on. I've always worked with dreams as if they were portals, as if they were oracles. And
Yeah.
so for some people, I know that's hard to accept because, like we've spoken of, it's not tangible. It's like, okay, but how do we know that that's real? I know because whenever I follow them, it then mirrors in my waking life. That's what
Right.
happens. I get these synchronicities, these signs, and I follow them. That's the difference. I don't just go, oh, let me just take a screenshot of this 1111 on my and then, oh, wow, okay, that's it. I'm done. Like, I guess I'll just wait around for something to happen.
That is a
No,
pattern though that you slip into. I notice with clients, they'll be
I,
like, well, I saw the numbers and I thought, oh, it's on its way to me. And I'm like, no, that means action. That means like
yes.
going,
And if you don't know what action to take, my best advice would be, okay, go into that hypnagogic state right as you're falling asleep and ask for it. Say,
Yes.
I am dreaming for guidance on dot dot dot. Insert here and just
Yes.
and see. But that's the thing with intentional dream work. It's not an overnight fix. It's like dream work is devotion and it's habit. It's habit forming. Like it's literally a lifestyle. And what I love about it is that it's not like you're not doing it every night anyways. So why wouldn't you want to work with this free tool that you have
Literally,
every
like
single night? That is
it's your
literally made
birthright.
just for you. It's your birthright. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's made just for you. And I've used dreams
Mm.
to, I know you did ask about this, I think in the question just before this, but where you're accessing different parts of yourself. Like I access past lives, I've accessed future lives, future timelines, I've accessed me in different dimensions where I'll look in a mirror and I'll be lucid and that's not me, but I'm living this
Right.
life. I'm going, like I can see what this other me is doing and it doesn't look like me. I'll have red hair and blue eyes instead. It's very I'm getting chills again every time I talk about this. It's very interesting and people will say, "Well, how do you know?" It's a past life dream. How do you know? Well, future ones are a little bit easier because if they come true, you've dreamt. You know you've
Right?
dreamt of it.
Yes.
But for me, for past life dreams, it's always where I am the main character and the director at the same time, or I
Mm,
am the object and the witness simultaneously. Does that make
right.
sense? It's very simultaneous in the way only dreams can do. It's like you're both characters at the same time. You're the main character, but you're also the witness watching. Like it's
Right.
different. It has a totally different feel.
Well,
And when
and
people
because
ask,
time's not real. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Like,
I think I said that earlier. To me, it's a
yes.
pool. You dip in, you
Yes.
dip out. It's like, that's it. It's not a stream, it's not a river. It's just you dip in, you
Yeah.
dip out. And that isn't that beautiful though, that we can go in intentionally and get guidance or revisit maybe a past life. Like I've had past life dreams where I don't know what century it was, but it was nothing close to this. And I've had, I've had dreams of being a priestess. I've had dreams of being in like Lemuria and Atlantis and just
Right.
so many different things. And whenever someone asks, how do I know? The first thing you're going to do, and I did say this, your body is the only tool you need. But the second tool that I would say to get is a dream journal. You
Oh,
need to
right.
start recording your dreams. You need to do
Mm-hmm.
that because that is when you start to look at the thematic arcs over time. Because, like you said, your
Right.
dream was a couple years ago and you didn't
Yeah.
know what it meant. And that's the thing because it's not linear time. So we dismiss it so easily. We think, oh,
Yeah.
whatever, like it's been a week, that didn't happen, so clearly that wasn't a future dream. But that's not the case sometimes. I've had
Mm-hmm.
dreams like that where I dreamt of someone, for example, the most recent one, I dreamt of someone that I was working with over the course of like a year. And every dream I had about this person came true. Not right away, but I would dream
Mm.
about the meeting we would have and what she was going to say before it even happened. So it was just like,
Yes.
I already knew. And I said, oh, you're going to say this. And she'd say, oh yeah, how'd you know that? I'm like, oh, I dreamt it. Like, it's just, I knew this was going to happen,
Yes.
and I knew this relationship was dissolving because I could see what this person was
Yeah.
really like. So like I was being shown things, mirrors, right?
Yeah.
I've used it for so many things in my life, for direction, for people, for business, for personal. Sometimes it happens right away. Like for example, when I was in Australia, we wanted to get out of Melbourne so bad. We were working at this cafe and I didn't like it. I don't want to be here anymore, but we didn't know where to go, right? So we were applying to all these jobs on these resorts and I had a dream about crocodiles. I've never dreamt before then. I'd never really dreamt of crocodiles. So I told my husband, I said, I dreamt of crocodiles. Like we were in a place with crocodiles. And lo and behold, the next day we get an email from a resort in the Daintree, which is the area where there's crocodiles. You can't swim in the ocean because there's saltwater crocodiles. And we took it. And I have to say, that one of the best resort jobs I've ever had. I don't ever want to go back to that life, but it was the best place we had worked in that industry. Oh, we always talk about that experience. It was just amazing. It's just
Incredible.
incredible. And we took it and we had, I should preface this too. We had more than one job offer come through. It wasn't just that one that day. We
Right.
actually had two. One of them was on an island. I think it was Fraser Island, which you could swim in the ocean. It was different. And that was a plus because we were like, oh, I love the ocean. That's why I'm in Australia. I
Right.
want to swim in the ocean. But there was
Yeah.
something, I had dreamt of crocodiles and there was something that I was like, we have to go. We have to follow this. One of the best jobs in that industry that we've ever worked. Amazing. Beautiful place,
Wow.
very small in the Daintree. Oh, amazing. So, dream journal. Come back to the dream journal. Always write this stuff down. There was a bishop of, I think it was the fourth or fifth century CE, so Common Era, and his name was Synesius of Cyrene. And he wrote this treatise called De Insomnis, which meant on dreams. It was literally just a treatise on dreams. And this was when the Roman Empire was crumbling and falling apart. And he wrote in this book, in this essay, that you should have two books, one for your nighttime dreams and one for your daytime dreams. So your synchronicities, your signs, and your omens. So that's what I do. I always leave space under my dreams in my dream journal to write any synchronicities that happen at any point that led me back to this dream.
Oh,
Because it can be 2 years, a year, a month.
that's brilliant.
We don't
Yes.
know. I need to create a
Right.
journal. Actually, I'm going to be designing a journal because there's so many things I wish journals had, and I need to do that.
Oh, I already see it. It's beautiful. I want it. I'm on the wait list, please. Oh my gosh. Okay. I want to tell you. So it's so interesting that you're talking so much about Australia. This might just be another synchronicity. So I have is like a 15-minute voice note. That's how much I was able to recall from this dream in the morning. It's a very long-winded dream, but in the beginning, it's so interesting. I had it while I was in Bali. And I had just left Australia, and I get very slippery in Bali. The morphic field there is very, yeah, it's quite dreamy. So like it's the veil is thin, and that's probably part of why this dream was like so much detail and easy to recall that way. But it was back in I was in a car and there was a bunch of stuff happening, but someone came to pick me up, and it was someone that I was about to go into business with, someone I love, but is no longer in my life anymore because of this dream kind of. But they came to pick me up, and the road was like all orange, and we started, and it was really, really bumpy and terrifying. Like we were even going like on a 90-degree vertical in the car, and he was just like, I'm so sorry that this is such a rough ride. I'm so sorry. And the whole time I was in the dream, I was like, I just wanted to get to like where I knew I was going. I was like, God, I just want to get there. Like, this is so awful. And on this road, we passed what I thought at the time when I was recording the dream was an Aboriginal man. A few months later, I actually entered into like another relationship with a man who was not Aboriginal, but was also had darker skin and was carrying the same bag that he had in the dream as I was right. And so it was like we passed him, and then we kept going down the road. It feels very much a lot like what you're describing. And interesting how it all unfolds over time. There was like all these other synchronicities, and I don't want to unpack it too much. But I just, I feel like you will understand, I guess, like the nonlinear, like dipping in and out of that. I'm still mining gold from this like 15-minute dream that I had like like years and years ago at this point now. Yeah.
No,
But a
it's
journal where I could write down the synchronicities would be a really cool, even like digital. Because now that like my dreams are voice noted, I can search because they're transcripts and all the symbols come up, which is really
yes.
interesting.
I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Okay, one of my goals and my dreams is to develop an app, but an app that doesn't use AI because I want to keep it protected and private. I've
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
apps reach out to me to collaborate,
Yeah.
and I have to turn them away because I don't like that aspect of AI. I don't like something telling you what your dream means to you. I don't like
No.
that. I'm not
Yeah. No.
like I'm not a dream dictionary person. I don't recommend anybody
Same.
have dream dictionaries. That's why you create your own dream dictionary when you
Yes.
write down your dreams, and then you start to pull out symbols and you notice
Yes.
themes. And we work with this a lot in my classes because it's like mapping the dreaming landscape because our dreaming landscapes are very personal to us. It's going to speak,
Totally.
like you
Yeah.
said earlier, in our own symbols. So
Yes.
how do we learn that language? Well, you got to start writing it down. It's a relationship. You have to start really analyzing. You kind of have to use your logical brain for that, but starting to pick up the patterns. But what I like about the like writing it down digitally, I'm old school. I have notebooks, but I've decided to start dictating a lot of them so that I can pull up if I'm looking for
Right.
serpent dreams, right? You write one
Yes.
word and all of them come up. That's why I want an app for that.
Yes.
I need to do
Yes.
I need to get that done. I need to create that.
Totally.
So if any
Okay.
app developers are listening, please reach out to me. I have
That's
ideas.
right. Well,
So,
I was an engineer for a while. I have a couple of
oh,
really, really lovely software engineering friends. Yeah, I might be able to hook you up with
yeah. Oh,
some
thank you.
really remarkable like people. Yeah.
I
Um,
love that. That's what I want.
yeah, that's a really fun idea. Um, I just wanted to ask one more question about past life dreams because
Mhm.
of the object thing. So for me, I guess I'm just clarifying. Like once I remember I had this dream and I looked down and I was like very clearly a totally different race and I was churning butter and I looked up and there was a little girl like coming toward me, like calling me mom. And I'm like, I don't have a daughter yet. Like I'm not black. What am I doing here? Right. So that's what you mean when you're the observer and also the like the main character, right? Like that's probably a past life type of dream. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And
Okay.
it's also a lucid dream because you brought lucidity
Yeah.
into it by knowing and becoming aware that you were dreaming. But that's
Yeah.
what I find a lot of past life dreams are in a way lucid because you know that this isn't you. So you
Right.
know, but the reflection staring back at you, looking down, you're still someone else and you're someone else to other people. So you're playing
Yeah.
two roles, right? You're playing who everyone else recognizes you as in the dream, all the dream characters, but you're also yourself, like in the body. It's like it's such
You know what I just thought of? Yeah, like like there are times where you're probably like working on the farm or something and you kind of space out, you daydream. I wonder, like in my mind, what I just thought of was like what's happening is like across timelines, or maybe your soul fragment is somewhere else, but you're being fully present. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
That
It
just popped in my head. I've never thought about that.
I can't believe you said this because it brought something else to me as you said that. This isn't my story to share. but I'm sure my husband won't mind. But whenever he has low sugars, he has had a few experiences where he's gone into an altered state and he's seen a different dimension. Like one time we were actually, this is why I thought of this, we were doing farm work in Australia and his sugars dropped really low. And for those that don't understand type 1 diabetes, they're insulin dependent. And if their
Right.
sugars go low, they can be prone to a seizure. They can go into a coma. It's very serious when it
Quick
drops
too.
below 4.
Right.
Yeah, and it's quick
Yeah.
too. So when it drops below 4, if you were to test blood sugar. And so I
Mm.
noticed something was going on. He was freaking out. Like I've never seen him this way before. We've been together 12 years. He was
Oh,
freaking
that's
out
scary.
and he thought he was somewhere else. Like he was like in a different time period on the land. Like he tapped into the past and he was just like there, like what is this? And he was freaking out and he's never done that before. But it was weird because he was also present. Like he knew I was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was completely gone. When they go too low, they sometimes don't even know who you are. They don't
Yeah.
recognize you. It's like, and I think he's described it to me as like being in your body but having no control. So it's like you said, being like you're looking down, you're like, this isn't my body, but you can't. It's still like the story's still playing out, even though you know and you're not really
Right.
this person.
But there,
It's
you're
still
not the
playing out.
driver anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you. That's exactly what I'm saying. So that happened to him. So I do believe that. Like he's had experiences like that. I've had experiences where in the dream time they told me to wake up because he was low. And I would wake up and I'd touch him and I don't know, I know with him. I've been around him a
I'm
very long time.
sure.
I know his
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And so I'd touch him and I'd be like, "Oh my," and I'd run to get the tester. I'd come back and I would test him and he would be low. So I can't tell you how many times his life has been saved through my dreams. And I'm getting chills as I say this. I don't speak about this very often. It happened in my last dreaming container, actually, the Spiral of Wings and Scales. One of this I teach on Sunday mornings. It was a 3-hour class, a 6-week course, and just before the class, that is what happened. I was became lucid in the dream. I dreamt of my husband. My husband had brown teeth in the dream, and I thought, that's
Ooh.
weird. Like he doesn't, but
Well,
that's when
that's
I
how I
became
usually know
lucid.
I'm dreaming. Exactly.
Yeah,
There's like
I
20
became
sponges in
lucid.
the fridge, and you're like, what the fuck is that?
What is
Yeah.
that? So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this is where we talk about symbols in your own personal dream language. What are we told about sugar? Oh, it'll rot your teeth. So right away I thought sugar, sugar, sugar. I woke up right away and I was like, fuck, he's low. I have to go get the
Yeah.
tester. I went, I grabbed it. Sure enough, he was low. I'm getting chills again. And I just thanked my guides. I thanked the angels. I thanked my soul. I thanked everything. I was like, thank you for knowing how to communicate with me. But they know.
Yeah.
See, there's such a relationship with my dreams now that when I need to know something, they tell me and they know I'll listen. That's what I mean about aligned action. When you start
Yes.
developing this relationship with your subconscious, and subconscious sometimes feels like such a scientific way of looking, like a non-spiritual way of looking at it. But I'm also talking like your soul fragments, the different versions of yourself. Everything is connected in the dream time because there's no ego. Whenever you're dreaming, you believe everything's real, right? So it's like,
Yes.
it's a whole other layer to yourself. So when you start listening and you start taking action,
Wow.
it develops, and like you said, a pattern. And then it starts speaking to you in patterns and it knows you're going to act. You're going to act on them. So now I trust them. As soon as I dream of something about my husband with sugar, I get up and every time it's been right. I'm getting chills. Like it has saved his life so many times that, and I'm not saying me, I'm not even giving myself credit.
Right.
It's my dreams. It's my soul, his soul coming to me.
Right.
That's another thing
Right.
too. When you when you sleep beside someone, think about your auras, right? Your auras get enmeshed, which means that it's very easy to transfer into each other's dream. I dream of my husband all the time. Like he'll be in my
Mm.
dreams a lot. Like, and I'm like, okay, I guess
Uh-huh.
we're on an adventure
Uh-huh.
tonight again. So, but he doesn't remember his dreams consciously. And that brings
Wow.
me to what you were saying, Erin, when you said, oh, maybe I knew where to go because I dreamt it, but I don't remember. I do believe that because we're always dreaming. They say on average, we have at least like 6 dreams a night. That's what studies
Right.
have found. Everybody, even those that don't remember their dreams. And I've had
Yeah.
students that have not remembered their dreams and they start putting these practices into place and they start
Yeah.
remembering fragments and it starts coming
Right.
back because it's a relationship. When you nurture
Right.
that relationship, it will open up for you. It will bloom. It's like a rose, right? You water it, and it will
Oh,
bloom.
trust is a two-way street with spirit
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, that's what I have had to learn the hard way, quite a few times actually. But yeah, it's like I say it a lot, like if you want signs from nature, you've got to spend like non-performative time in nature. Like you've got to go out and like be nature. You are nature. And so it's the same way with like guidance from whatever it is beyond that veil, from the benevolent source of all that is, which is ultimately, I think, love and goodness, right? I can't believe that you just said that about your husband, because that is actually, I used to call them pain comas. I had
Mm.
symptoms related to endometriosis for like 2 decades. I had no idea what endometriosis for 15 years. I didn't even know the name of why I was experiencing so much pain with my menstrual cycle,
Yeah.
what was actually inhabiting my womb, right? And like what was like setting up shop in there and what I was allowing to occur. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I would like clear off a week of my month every month, and because it was clockwork, I had no other symptoms. I didn't have crazy PMS. I didn't have, it was just pain, like truly physical. And I would vomit and pass out for like 12 hours at a time. I would like feel it come on. I'd have a few minutes. I'd get my dog outside and come back in, and then be down. And everybody kind of just knew, oh, Erin's in the pain coma and she's just, and then, but I would go somewhere. It's exactly like what it sounds like your husband's describing. Like I would then come out of it and I'd walk out onto the same street that I'd been living on, for a month. And I'd be like,
Mhm.
this is different. Like this is not the same anymore. Do you think it's like a timeline? There's a healing that occurs when do you know what I mean? Why did it feel different before and after, but also I wasn't fully present for the during, you know?
Yeah. So, oh, I just want to say I'm sorry about that because my mom and my aunt had endometriosis. So I definitely am very
Wow.
aware of that,
Yeah.
of the of what you had to go through. And I'm sorry. That sounds very painful. For me, the way that I see it is that dimensions are layered on top of each other like mirrors. When stuff like that happens, I mean, like I said, I can only speak to my own experience and the experience of my husband as a second party, like not as
Yeah.
obviously as like just as a witness, not as the
Yeah.
initial observer or the initial participant, is what I should say. And for him, the way he described it was kind of just how you did. It's like you've been there, we've been working there for months, so it's not a new place,
Yeah.
but it was different, as in it was the past version of it. Like there, I think he had
Mm,
described not a there wasn't like a barn, but it was like the structure that was there was different. It just looked different. Maybe it was newer, where it's worn
yeah.
down now. It's just different. And
Wow.
that's where I believe that dreams are also portals, right? So with the dream time, like our bodies are really our most powerful tools because they are anchor to this dimension,
Hmm.
but they're also they're our bridge between worlds, because while our physical body is sleeping in our bed, our soul, our consciousness is not limited to a body. Like that's pretty incredible. We get to travel, right? And we can do it
So cool.
intentionally, like I've been talking about.
Right.
And when those experiences happen, like that's something I'd say write down. That'd be a daytime like a daytime
Right.
dream, right?
It was
And
crazy too, like the amount of memories that would flood in. I'd be in so much pain. I couldn't be in my body. And if I wasn't passing out, I think it was because I would go in between. I was in that, I guess, like a hypnagogic state because it was so much pain that my body would be like shutting down. And then like these memories would flood in. And that's why it sounds a little bit like what your husband went through, I guess, because it was like the memory was almost like the actual event but a little bit different. Sometimes it was the action. I think honestly, it was probably like me actually accessing what happened because I probably didn't have the capacity to in what was happening. I don't have many memories of my childhood. I think I was just so shut down. Like we don't remember that kind of thing. And so the processing of all of that. But okay, yeah. Yeah, the
but
dimensional aspect of it.
when you said that
What's that?
though, when you said the hypnagogic state, that made sense to me because that's the liminal space. And that's where the bees are
Yeah.
also masters of this liminal space, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that hypnagogic state is actually the most powerful state for manifestation. I know I talked about that earlier, but it is. It's one of the most powerful states for manifestation because that is actually where you're most programmable, for lack of a better
Right.
word. but
Yeah.
not programmable in a negative way, but programmable in the sense that you can rewire
Like
your
a
nervous
plastic
system.
way.
You
Yeah,
can
like our
rewire
brains
your
are,
mind.
yes.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
literally create the reality you want. And that's why it's also very important, since we're talking about that. You know how people, I don't do this, but people that have TVs and they fall asleep watching something, that can be dangerous to your subconscious because that is
Yeah.
programming. You are
And you don't
literally,
know what you're, yeah.
no, because you're still hearing it. Depends on what you're
Right.
sorry. Depends on what you're watching, right? So I would say
Right.
always be very careful if you're going to
Right.
watch anything before bed. Be careful what you're ingesting with your eyes and with your ears, because that is going to that's really going to program you as you fall asleep. If you fall asleep with
Truly.
the TV on. I never recommend that ever, but I understand
Right.
some people, they can't fall asleep without it, but just be
Yeah.
conscious of what you're watching.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
my recommendation.
Well, yeah. I mean, and all of the time is probably best, but
Yes.
yeah, especially then for sure. I want to ask you one more question, if that's okay. But it's kind of because we're on this like topic, it feels like we're talking about like pain and then maybe gritty parts of life, type 1 diabetes or endometriosis. I had written down earlier this question about venom. It sounds like bees have lots of medicine. I love that they're masters of the liminal space because as an engineer, I'm thinking about like how do bees fly? And like we know that they don't like flap their wings and fly. And like we talk about liminal space and that just feels so magical. But this like concept of venom and a lot of the dreams you've described have not been like pleasant little like bees in the field and rainbows and sunshine. And really what I'm driving at is like how do we make the world feel different than it does, right? Do you think that facing the absolute like horror and trauma of animals, pure, beautiful frequency, just innocent animals being burned alive in a sanctuary fire, really facing that and sitting in through that is something that has equipped you to do this work in a new way, to face the things that are happening in the world. Do you see a connection between all of like that thread? Do you know what I mean? Like on the meta level, if you zoom out, I guess I think I'm trying to like relate venom and pain and um the crunchier parts of being in this messy human experience to medicine and like our greater evolution.
Oh, that's a very
What comes
that we could talk a lot about that. So, this is one of the dichotomies of honeybees, which I also find very intentionally designed, through their creation. Honeybees to me are physical representations of the Great Mother. There's one thing that I have left out when we talked about dreaming is wombic dreaming. That's actually what I teach too, is dreaming from the womb space, because that is where, as women, we birth our realities. It's working with the womb, dreaming with the womb. There's a lot of practices that can go into that. But in regards to your specific question, there is this polarity with honeybees. And I want to mention too that when I talk about bees, I'm specifically talking about honeybees. And I want to
mm,
dispel just, I think this is a myth, not about the bee with the flying and the aerodynamics, because I think that's bumblebees. That's not honeybees though, because honeybees are actually a lot smaller. They often get confused with wasps. I can't tell you how many times I'm somewhere and people are like, "Oh, this bee is trying to get me," and it takes everything in me
like
not to
actually
go, "That's a wasp." Don't talk about my sisters that way. My sisters aren't like that. Please leave them alone. Don't swat like it's not a bee. Like,
oh
but there's
yeah,
and that's the power of language, right? Language and
truly,
programming,
yeah.
because that's why people fear bees. I've seen so many movies I watch where it'll show, even in My Girl, where Macaulay
Yes,
Culkin, gets stung and he dies from all those bees. I don't think those were bees. I'm looking at them and I'm looking at the paper nest and I'm like, that's a wasp nest. That's not even a bee nest. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So
you're right.
yeah,
Oh my
so
God.
all of us watching that movie all throughout the 90s go into our adult life being terrified of bees every time we walk in a forest, and it's not. It was a paper. I swear, right? It was a paper nest, which means
Stella, yes.
it's not honeybees, it's wasps. I was so mad. I was like, when I put that together, I was like, come on.
Could that be intentional? That's crazy.
Well, if you go
That's
on Amazon
wild.
and you search for, if you go on Amazon and you search for like wasp deterrents, like those little paper
Yeah,
things that you
yeah.
hang. a lot of the pictures are honeybees. They're not of wasps, they're of honeybees. And it gets me so frustrated because there's so much misinformation about honeybees and bees in general. Because I get it, bumblebees, they're bigger, they're thicker, they're fluffier. So people aren't scared of them because they don't really sting, right? So that's what they portray or picture bees. That's what a bee is. But honeybees, bees actually, it's been said that bees have evolved from wasps from like 300 million years ago. So basically, they switched from a carnivorous diet to you can't really call them a vegetarian because they don't eat dairy, but basically their version of like a vegetarian diet where they weren't
Right, right.
feeding,
Okay.
where wasps are still omnivorous because they're just greedy. They'll eat anything, really. That's whether it's, other animals or, nectar from flowers. So I just wanted to dispel that myth. A lot of myths, around honeybees and the truth of it
Fascinating.
all. Yeah. So when it comes to venom, it's the honeybees we're talking about. So honeybees embody this balance, this in between honey and sting, between this nurturing aspect and this protective aspect. Because female honeybees, I don't like calling them workers. I prefer maidens. You got the maiden, the queen, and then the brothers. That makes a lot more sense to me. And if anyone wants to learn more about that, Jacqueline Freeman's book, The Song of Increase, such a great book for that, just to really
Beautiful.
rewire the way you see bees because it's very patriarchal, the language, and commercialized. And that's
Shocking.
intentional, of course.
Yeah.
So, because we were talking about etymology and that just kind of like spinning off of that. It's words,
Yeah.
right? Words are spells. They have power and they create our realities. So it's very important. I call them maidens. So the maidens are the only ones that sting. And the male bees, the drones, the brothers, were not built for war. They don't have stingers. Okay. They're just lovers. They are lovers, which is so opposite to what our human world is, right? So
Yeah.
it's predominantly a matriarchal society with the hive as its womb. And it's a
Okay.
superorganism. It's not just one bee or two. Like they have a hive consciousness. So if
Right.
one bee doesn't make it back to the hive at night, chances are she won't actually survive, but the hive will go on. Like she needs her hive. She needs to be with her sisters, her mother, her brothers. And so when it comes to, I was talking about this balance between the two, like you've got the sun and the moon, like they really are these creatures of the liminal spaces. And so when we talk about venom, our immediate response is to fear it, is to think it means death. We think it's synonymous with death, but I want to put forth that perhaps it's synonymous with healing, with initiation, because that's what death experiences do. I mean, it initiates us, whether it's someone passing away and they're initiating themselves into a different realm. They're going off to their next, my husband calls it, they're forever. They're on to their next journey. Or whether,
I
we
love
have those
that.
experience. A lot of people have NDEs, and that's also an initiation. So when it
Right.
comes to honeybees venom, it's also medicine. So I've actually never been stung beekeeping ever. And even
You said
non-beekeeping, I've
that.
never been stung.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention this, but the bees actually were working with me on getting stung in my dreams. I would have many dreams of getting stung and they'd be very gentle. And then they would just show me, like they'd land on my hand in the dream and they'd show me, okay, this is what it's going to feel like. You're going to be okay. But every time I went to the hive, and I tell you, becoming a beekeeper, you really got to face a lot of fears when it's a
Yeah.
real big initiation. At least for me, it was. So whenever I'd go to the hive, they were always really gentle with me. They would communicate with me. They would bump me on the head. If I overstayed my welcome, I just had to learn the patterns and the languages. So once I learned their language, this hive and every hive has its own personality. When I earned the trust of this hive, they communicated with me. They'd communicate with me during my dreams, showing me, okay, it's okay. Like you don't need to worry about getting stung. And the irony is that in the dream, I'd say, oh, that wasn't that bad. Almost every time. It's so funny. I wake up and I tell my husband about it. Like, oh, okay, maybe I'm okay if I get stung. Like it's okay. But then I'd get to the hive and I'd I'd be a coward and I'm like, no, not today, girls. Not today, girls. I'm not ready. So and they wouldn't, and they would respect it, which I have to say, like my relationship with them is just so special. It's otherworldly. It really is. They
Wow.
taught me even more about liminality and how to weave between these worlds because they do it so well. And so with venom, I've had so many friends that are also beekeepers that they would get stung on spots that needed healing. If they had a pain in their shoulder, they'd get stung in their shoulder. If they had a pain in their hand, same thing. And really, I want people to understand that when bees sting, for the most part, for most of the time, like probably 99%, 98%, they are sacrificing themselves.
Right.
Because our skin, the way our human skin is, they get barbed. It gets barbed in there.
Right.
And
It
I've just
rips it out.
recently discovered that if left alone, there is an opportunity for the bee to wind herself out. However, we're humans and we are a reactive species. We are a very
We're
reactive species. So this was a lesson for me where if you would just, yes, she's delivering the medicine to you, the venom. If you would just leave her alone and just wait, she could probably also live, which means you both get that medicine. She gets,
exactly.
right? I'm getting chills again. So, but we live in a
Me
world where
too.
a lot of our actions are selfish. And that's why I think the bees teach us so much. And when we talk about healing, like the bees, to me, are the greatest teachers of reciprocity because they have a reciprocal relationship with the earth. They do something for the earth gives them sustenance and food. They build
Right.
their homes with the wax from their own body. They secrete wax pellets from their own body. They are the
Right.
weavers of their own world. I know we associate weavers with spiders only, but bees weave their homes and from their own bodies just like spiders
Yeah.
do. They make their own food. They do everything is medicine for them. Everything is a part of them. And we've lost that connection where our homes can also be part of us. You know, nature is part
Right.
of us. We are part of nature. I've heard this from one of my teachers, like we are the earth dreaming and the earth is dreaming us because we
Yes.
started as a dream. And that comes back to, we spoke
True.
earlier about the Aboriginal dream time. The earth dreamed us into being, but we are also made of the earth, right? So we are
Yes.
also dreaming the reality around us. Every thought, everything in our world was first started as a dream.
Yeah.
So I want to say too, it's not just bees with venom, it's also snakes. Most people don't realize that when a snake bites an animal, that blood is actually used as an antidote to the venom after. Like they extract the blood, I believe, from the animal that's been bitten, and it becomes an antidote for that snake's venom. So it's a really interesting dichotomy of like healing, pain and medicine or healing and venom, like what the correlation between the two. And it's sometimes I really believe that these sort of painful experiences do act as our medicine, which is how I view nightmares, to be honest. Nightmares, I call them like there's honey hidden within, the shadow. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just have to find it. There's gold in there.
Yeah.
It reminds
Yeah.
me of the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell, and we can put that
Right.
towards our nightmares, that same sort of application where
Right.
we're becoming the heroes of our own story. And in order to do that, we have to face the villains, and sometimes they're the villains within us that need to be
Exact. Well,
faced.
usually, yeah, I feel like because it's all a mirror. Yeah, I agree. Or that what is living in us that makes us hate the villain, or something like that
Yes.
too. Yeah. Wow, that was epic, Stella. Thank you. I think it's because it's really important to me. I think a lot about evil and the
Mhm.
hard stuff because I've lived and walked so much hard stuff. And yeah, like I don't see it, I see it as an opportunity to turn it into a gift. I don't want to say that like, cancer is a gift necessarily, but it's like, what are we doing here? Like, I think that's really my question. It's like, what are we doing? You know? And like you're saying, like, can we adopt the bees have told you in your dreams? Like, it's not that bad. Like, it's not going to be that bad. You're going to be okay. Right. And what are you moving from? Fear? What are you afraid of? Death? Well, is it real? Are we sure that that's really what's going to happen? Right. Or are you going to go to your forever, after you die? And
Yeah.
can we reorient our way in our relationship to that? I mean, you've just done such a phenomenal job explaining and like putting that into like tangible things. Is there anything else that you want to speak or say, or is there anything coming up for you in this moment?
Actually, when you mentioned cancer,
Yeah.
I wanted to say too that there is studies that are being conducted now on honeybee venom destroying breast cancer cells. I'm sure you've seen there's been a lot of Instagram posts about that. I don't think
The
it's
Lyme
been
and
the
the other
human
disease has been,
trials for that yet. I don't think. Don't quote me on that.
oh,
I don't know. I can't remember what I read, sorry. But it's also don't believe everything on the internet. You really have to like you really have to have
discernment
discernment.
is very, yeah, important.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can't say that with 100% certainty. So definitely fact check that for yourself. But what I wanted to say was that I think too, though, with that, having this knowledge and knowing that, we also need to find a way to respect these creatures. I mean, as humans, we commodify and we take and we take and we put our lives above everything else. And that's
Right.
the last thing I'd want to see with bees is that they're now just being farmed and used to heal humans. You know, it's like, oh, now that's their
Just
purpose, which
literally
to me isn't.
recreating the old system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just going right back into that.
Yeah.
And that's not, I don't believe that's their purpose because guess what? We
Right.
actually need bees in order to even eat. So they, you
Literally.
know, it's like, okay, they're already giving us so many gifts. What are we giving them? Right. And I
Yeah.
think that's the
Oh,
question. There's that reciprocity again. We've lost that side of the relationship where we're just taking and consuming and taking and taking. And the bees are coming to so many people in dreams, Erin. Like, I can't tell you the amount of people. Like, I have a pre recorded masterclass called The Hive in the Womb, and I get messages all the time. Like, the bees are coming to me. I just took your class. It makes so much sense, you know, and then people sign up for my live courses, same thing. And it's just like, I really believe that the bees are speaking to us. And if they can't get to us in our waking reality and we're not listening, they're going to start using our dreams. I'm getting chills again.
the
That's what's
subconscious.
going to happen.
Oh,
That's how I finally listened. It was like, okay, well, you're showing me things and they're true in waking reality. It's mirroring. You know, I'm seeing what you showed me in the dream, so I have to listen. How can I not listen? And for
wow.
me, it's just, oh, I really believe that we can dream a new world into being because that is exactly how we got here in the first place. We start our lives literally dreaming from the womb. We start as a dream, then we're
Right.
birthed, we manifest in the physical, and then we also leave this world in darkness. So we come in through darkness, the sacred dark, and we leave through darkness. So the darkness isn't something to be afraid of. And I think they've taught us to fear the dark, which unfortunately people interpret it as also fearing, you know, going to sleep, fearing the dream
Right.
time.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really coming back to this the wombic principle of creation. That's
Yeah.
how I would
Right.
see it. That's how I teach it. It's like
Yeah.
this is, I think, the Celtic cosmologies and belief systems where it's the cauldron, right? These are the cauldrons of
Mm,
creation. This is where we can birth realities. And if we start doing that individually, could you imagine if we all started following our dreams and working on ourselves? How different the world would be, Erin. Like, we
imagine.
always
Yeah.
put that responsibility on someone else when really we're judging each other, we're pointing fingers. Hey, why don't we just work on ourselves first? Because if we all did that, there would be no need to point fingers at anybody, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's where it starts.
Exactly.
And that's what I love about dreams because they're accessible to everybody, everybody, no matter, you know, what you identify with, you know, if you have a
Mm-hmm.
physical disability, it's like it's to everybody. Everybody, doesn't
Right.
matter. If you're alive in a human body, you can do this. Actually, even if you're alive in an animal body, you can do this too.
I was gonna say.
It's everything. Everything dreams. We're always dreaming, whether we're awake or asleep. So my question is, what are you consciously dreaming? Because that's going to shape
Yes.
your entire world.
Oh, thank you. Really quick, uh, it's interesting about the bee venom and the breast cancer thing, because when I think about the body, right, like breasts, what is their purpose, their function, their role? Like this um, blood, breast milk is made of blood. It's associated with sacrifice and all of these other maybe distortions, right? In like the truth of what's really this again, reciprocity. You're giving your body to keep something else alive. And it's interesting, right? Like bee venom would eradicate any type of mutation occurring in that space. Like I just think that's an interesting and fun, beautiful synchronicity again to the bees, you know?
They are, to me, master alchemists on this plane.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
the way that I see them is that, I talk about this in my classes, but in tarot, we have the magician card. That's what I
Right.
picture the bee would be because well, first the infinity sign. They make the infinity sign, the lemniscat, the figure eight through their waggle dance when they're sourcing for food. They do make a figure eight. That's a whole other thing we can get into. So I'm very, like, even that is just very drawn to that already. But
Well, math, I mean, heavens. Oh, that's so cool.
yeah, so
No
they
way.
already embody the infinity. And so does the serpent when she coils. She also makes a figure eight, right? Depending on how she coils or spiral,
Right.
depending on how. So
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
why I love working with these two animals. Just so incredible. They're sisters to each other, really, is how I see it. So the bees are the master
Mm,
alchemists, and it doesn't surprise me that they everything they offer is medicine. because they know how to take something and transmute it into something greater, into something that is beneficial. Even their honey or even their venom, right, is medicine. Like even something that is poison actually
Right.
has benefit. That's what I'm saying when I speak to them being the physical manifestation of the great mother. That's what I envision it. It's like that nurturing and that protection. You get a little bit of both. You get the dual side of the goddess, right? Where it's like, especially with
Yeah.
honeybees, since they're the only ones that have stingers and the males don't, right? The males are the lovers. So the honeybee, like she only stings if she's defending her home or
Right.
herself. Like if you're swatting at her, that happened to my
Yeah.
husband. He didn't mean to. We thought it was the wasp because we were trying to take care of the wasps and she went after him after. And it was
No.
really sad because she lost her life for nothing. And that's what I want people to be conscious of. Even when you're
Yeah.
walking, like, we don't pay attention when we're walking because we're so used to this sort of hierarchy that we're above everything on this earth that so many people kill bees by accident just because they're not paying attention. And that's what I think bees, one of their greatest lessons besides reciprocity is presence. Every time I went to the hive, I had to be so present with them. Otherwise, if I wasn't paying attention, that's when I could get stung. If I wasn't listening to
Right.
what they were trying to communicate with me.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just, there's so much healing that is also available to this world. It's not outside of us, it's within us. And that is
Right.
my mission is to help people come back to themselves. That's why I love dreams, because you're not channeling something outside of you. You're not listening to a new age guru or even a religious figure. You're not. It's you. It's your dreams.
You
It's your
literally can't do that. Yeah, with
No,
dreams.
it's
Yes.
that's what I mean. You literally can't. Like it's yours. You're
Yes.
that to me is like, okay, I'm actually getting guidance only from myself. I
That's
mean, yes,
crazy.
spirit guides,
Yeah.
animal allies, celestial beings. I've had many experiences with that, higher dimensional beings. They do show up, which is amazing. Those experiences,
Yeah.
incredible. But they're still yours, right? You're not
Right.
going through another human being. What did the aliens tell you? What are you channeling? It's like,
Right.
because to me, that's that discernment that really needs to be high. At the end of the day, I believe that we are all infallible,
Yeah.
definitely including myself. And I never put this is what we were talking about earlier. I never position myself above anyone else. I never try to say I have all your answers. That's not what my work is
Definitely not.
about. No,
Right.
my work is to listen to your dreams because the answers are really already inside you. You just have to learn the language. That's it. Learn your language and you won't need anybody again. I mean, yes, although, some people bring beautiful teachings and they bring beautiful lessons for you to learn from, beautiful guidance, but I think there's a heavy distortion on, well, both sides, really. I see religion and New Age as two sides of the same coin, two wings of the same bird. I do.
And
And
unfortunately,
I was
yeah.
part of both worlds. I was part of both worlds. So being able to like step away and see, oh yeah, like you're the
Well, again,
same.
it's the pattern. Yeah, it's an echo, a pattern. Yeah, it's
Yep,
gonna be, there's no blueprint for where we're going, you know? Yeah,
exactly. But your
doesn't
dreams
exist.
can be your blueprint. Trust your dreams. That's your blueprint. That's what I would
Yeah,
say.
yes,
Don't listen to anybody. Don't even listen to me. Trust your own dreams.
truly. Yes.
Right?
Stella, yes, incredible. Thank you so much. Yeah, amazing. I totally agree. And just, yeah, maybe nature is the blueprint and that dreams are
Yes.
the, yeah, like the bridge, it's like, ugh,
Oh, maybe, yeah, nature's the blueprint. Dreams are your map. There, just get you back there. That's
that's it. I love that
well, I
because
mean,
it's within you. Yeah,
the old priestesses literally would dream with the land. They would dream on the land, on a sacred piece of land for guidance, to heal, to also dream for their
right,
communities, right? That was a
exactly.
big role of the priestess, was being a dream oracle. So we have that. It's exactly what
Yeah,
you're saying. Just get back to the land, get back to nature. And you said something
yeah,
earlier I really loved. You said non-performative. I think that's what
yeah,
you said. Like, I loved
yeah,
that. I was like, yes, because everything seems like a performance nowadays. And
constantly.
I really try not to fall into that trap myself. So it's like,
It can be unconscious though. Well, and that's just it. Yeah, it's like no judgment. It's like we are unconscious until we are conscious of it. Like I am constantly discovering new ways of like, oh, I'm doing that because I think it's going to get me this, or I need
yes,
to do this in order to stay safe, and it's like this constant unraveling of like, oh, I'm actually like, I don't need to carry that anymore. I can shed that. I can let that go. And who I am or what is true in this moment is enough. And yeah, like just, yeah, we don't know, I think, all the time. Yeah. But if you're going out in nature and you're just like setting up the camera for a couple of minutes and like taking a selfie and then like getting right back in your car, like, or whatever it is, it's like, that sounds performative, like that's something not like that. You're not going to get a lot of signs if that's the road you're going.
So
Yeah.
interesting how times have changed. It's definitely
Yeah.
not the way I grew up. So,
No. I saw a meme the other day. It was like, it- tech used to be an escape, like we used to get on
hmm
the dial up and it would be like this escape from the real world. But now, like, literally, the real world is the escape from the tech because we've just become consumed by it. It's like, that's crazy that like the national parks are just like blowing up and you can't even get a camping spot some weekends this season, depending on where you are, because it's just like the escape and the trendy thing. But I mean, it's great. I know it will all balance out. There's no judgment. It's all serving, but it's fascinating, truly. Thank you so much for everything, all of this. Yeah. Do you want to say something about like what you're offering, where your classes are? If you want to
I'm
tell
like,
people where they can find you and how they can connect with you. Yeah.
so if you're looking to dive a little bit deeper into your dreams and how to take that first step, especially if speaking about the bees has really ignited something within you, and you're someone that's thinking, oh, bees are everywhere for me right now. I do have a pre-recorded masterclass that also has 6 bonuses because I'm a giver. I overgive. I might even add more bonuses to it in the future. That's just who I am. I can't help it. My husband laughs at me all the time because he'll say, "Honey, you've already given them a lot." I'm like, "But I just one more thing." Like, so that's available. It's called The Hive in the Womb, A Doorway to Dreaming, and it's only $27. I've made it really affordable, and I've added like so many things. I think it started with just 3 bonus resources, and now there's 6, and who knows in the future. I did my most recent dreaming container is Women Who Dream with the Wolves, but that filled up very early, like I said at the beginning of the episode. So
hmm
I am thinking of doing a workshop, like a couple hour workshop, because I had so many people message me after it
Yeah.
filled wanting to join, and I'm really
Yeah.
intentional about keeping the container to the correct number, especially because 13 is the number of the goddess. I like keeping it small and intimate,
Yeah.
especially
hmm
because we're weaving our dreams together in real time, and there's definitely a sacredness. I feel like that word is so overused, sacred, but there's a sacredness to it.
Yeah.
So my website is www.honeywomb.com, HONEYWOMB.com. And under the Dreamwork tab, you'll find all my Dreamwork resources. You're probably the first to know, but I've been quietly working on something in the background, pre-recorded, self-paced actual course teaching you how to work with your dreams as oracles, because everybody has been always I get so many questions, and this time it's not
Yeah.
going to be to a specific animal, but just how do I use my dreams as my oracle? How do I weave the reality I want? Because like I said, I only teach what I've embodied, and I've learned so much, and so much has manifested for me. I also don't like using that word either.
Yeah.
I feel like it's overused.
Manifest. Yeah.
Manifest. It's not, but
Yeah.
this isn't another trendy like manifestation thing. This is just how can I use my dreams as oracles to guide me in any area of my life. So you're the
Literally
first to,
create. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
might be a 6 week
epic.
or like a 6 module. I'm not sure yet. It's coming together the way
Yeah.
I'm dreaming on it.
Okay,
I'm
literally.
dreaming on it. But it's coming, hopefully before
Oh,
September. But
okay.
I'm going to be honest with everybody. Sometimes the goals I set for myself are not actually what happens because
Well, we work for
life just
God.
gets so
Yeah.
busy. But I'm trying. I'm trying before September so that you can go into the winter, which I think is the perfect time for dreaming.
That
The
would be
sacred dark.
epic.
Yeah, you can go into the sacred dark with these tools. So, if you
Stella.
want to keep up to date on that, my email list will be the first to
Okay.
be notified with a special discount when it comes out,
Nice.
and then I'll release it to the world after that. So,
Epic. I'm gonna catch up with you, I'm sure, at some point in the future, especially when the dream journal comes out, and we're gonna talk about how you are changing the world. And it's
oh,
just
so are
epic, epic,
you.
incredible. I mean it. No, I'm so grateful for this and
So
this,
are
your
you.
time and attention. Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of the point. That's what we're trying to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
I am.
birth
I also
something
have,
new. Yeah.
I always forget to mention this. I also do branding sessions
I saw
because
that on your website.
it's
Yes.
not my focus, but it is something I love to do because I love seeing women thrive. And I'm sharing and guiding from a place where I've done it myself in such a short time. So I know that if
Yeah.
I can create a soul led business that honors who
Yeah.
I am, what I'm here to do in such a niche, if you can even call
Yeah.
dream work a niche, in such a niche like area, I know anyone can do it too. And I just want to see women thrive. I really want to see the
Mm.
balance of wealth be redistributed to the right people. Like, I want to
Yes.
see women get so insanely wealthy that we change the world. That's what I want.
Yes.
So once I
Yes.
really
Yes.
started
Yes.
growing my business, I started offering these branding sessions where I kind of do like a little audit, a very honest audit of your Instagram, like your social media, your messaging, because we want to make you magnetic so that your people find
Right.
you. That's how we found each other,
Exactly.
right? So,
Literally. Yes.
yeah. And I also just created a bonus portal for all my clients so that they get support after the session ends. And it's literally everything I learned along the way. It's like all the behind the scenes, how to avoid being censored, what to do, how I create my reels. It's just all these little things that it's a living library. That's what I call it, that I just add
Yes.
to. I'm going
Yeah.
to add to whenever I embody and learn something that is helpful for someone else. It goes in there.
Yes.
So it's really
That's
like a
exactly.
core,
Yeah.
like a right, like a forever course, like that's all in one.
Yeah.
But if
Yes.
anyone's
Yes.
interested
Well,
in
and we're
that,
always in evolution. Yes.
yes.
That's brilliant.
So
Yeah.
that's called the magnetic blueprint. So
Yeah.
if anyone's
Okay.
interested in that, you can also find that on my webpage under branding, the branding tab.
That's epic. Yes. When women have money, they spend it in, they leave bad situations. They help other women. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Incredible. Thank you so much.